from Mr. Richard McKinney from TNA. He's going to give you a short presentation on SCBA's self-contained breathing apparatus. He's just going to talk a little short time. We would like to purchase these for the safety of my guys or whatever, and he got a little thing he got worked up for y'all tonight.
Mr. Chairman, Council, I appreciate y'all's time this evening. I didn't quite know to what extreme that I need to do a presentation, so I was kind of, we're just going to share information with you. When I first presented this to other counties surrounding, we've come to the conclusion that everybody's SCBA's were purchased 12 to 15 years ago, and they're all within some aging. So at that particular point, I started talking to other members. Your SCBA's are a little bit newer than that, but they're still within that range of being out of compliance with NFPA. So the compliance is a big issue for safety for our firefighters. I'm a firefighter myself, so one of the things that I always try to do is focus on the safety for my guys. And with that said, I'm a fire chief also. So what I did is I put together a program. I presented it to the chief, and he really liked the SCBA's that we brought in, took a look at it, was really impressed with it. He was impressed with what we were able to do on pricing on it. What we did was included the City of Cuthbert into a consortium pricing so that basically when I present a price to MS or a request to MSA for a unit price, the more I have on board, the better price that I could give to everybody. So we included Cuthbert in this, which also is going to allow you guys to have the better pricing point for the units.
And this is coupled with the county?
Yes, sir, it is. That's correct.
The pricing points.
The pricing points are, it's all within the same financial type. If you look at the two sheets together, there may be a little bit of differences because of configuration, the way the units are designed. I put together just a rough summary of financing, and I apologize, I only have one copy. Mr. Chairman, I'll give that to you, and that was of the 4 options to go with for financing. The units themselves, excuse me, I brought up a book for everyone to be able to have and take home so you can review. And I am available for any questions that you guys might have in reference to the functionalities of them. I would like to come up and do a complete presentation with you if you wish. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Just so that you guys can have an idea of what we're looking at as far as components, operations, and so forth like that. The units, one of the big value of the units, they're upgradable. So when I say that, in 4 years from now, when NFPA says that we need to change this, we need to upgrade this, these units are upgradable to be able to allow for that upgrade that they put out for us. The units are upgradable based upon MSA's projections of what NFPA is going to do to us, basically. They project that they're going to say, it needs to have this, or it needs to have this. So what they've done is they've said, well, in the future, we foresee this taking place. So they've made the units upgradable till approximately 2032. Currently, every 5 years, 4 to 5 years, NFPA does a session upgrade or a session change. Current models that are out there are not upgradable. All you can do is just buy new units in 10 years. So over a long period of time, it cuts back on a lot of the cost. So say we have an older unit that needs to be, let me back up. A competitor's unit, in 8 years it needs to be upgraded. They may or may not be able to do that. Based on what's out there on the market now, they can't do that. These units can. So they're convertible, upgradable, programmable. A lot of the 2018 revisions are already in these units. They've already been configured for that format that NFPA is putting out there. One of the revisions that they came out with, for us, it was a software change. For another manufacturer, they had to change the whole construction of their units to make it work. Once again, I would like to take time, because to do a presentation on the unit takes about an hour, maybe an hour and a half of your time. And I know tonight's limited, so. But the way we configured the units were with the chief's recommendations of what he needs out there in the field, not only for his firefighter safety and so forth, but the advancement of fire attack, fire suppression, for what he sees for his community in his area here. Just rough guessing, I don't know, there's 1,500 facilities in the area or so. You have 2 fire trucks, 4 units on each. One of the things that I did figure 4 of the units were thermal imagers. The thermal imager that you currently have now is antiquated, to say the best. It's 20 plus years old. These thermal imagers, the old thermal imager that you currently are using is a huge monster. This thermal imager is integrated into here. So it just shows you how much of a progression has come over 20 years. These are designed for comfortability for the use of the firefighter. The way it's designed is that he carries it lower on his back instead of on his shoulders. So with that said, he has a lot less stress on his body while he's working, so he's not as fatigued as quickly. He can work longer, harder, and faster. So overall, the entire design of this, MSA put in probably $50 million in the design of this unit to make it have what it needs for the fire service. MSA has been around for 105 years. One family-owned company, it's never changed hands. Through that entire process, MSA, it stands for Mine Safety Products, or Mine Safety Association. Its sole focus was protection of miners. And throughout the years, they've evolved to this. So, that's kind of the highlights of what I have for you, sir.
As large of an investment as this is, which is significant, right at $58,000, and he's pretty much telling us to get a real good presentation on it, take about an hour. Do we want to consider letting him come make a presentation to the whole council at a working meeting, or possibly to the Public Safety Committee, and they make a recommendation to the council, so we would be able to spend a little more time on something of this significance than a 10-minute presentation? Because I mean, obviously we need it. Obviously it's something that will help our firefighters, help with their safety. We want to consider the full, long 1-hour presentation either to the whole council or to the Public Safety Committee. Would it be possible for you to come back at a working meeting and make the whole presentation?
Yes,
to
sir.
us, and then we would have that meeting just dedicated to you?
Sure, be glad to.
Okay. Could you do that possibly this month?
I don't have my phone with me for my calendar, but yes, sir, I'll make it happen.
All right. You all want to consider this possibly at, not this coming Monday, but 2 weeks from today? Have him come back if it works in his schedule. Yeah. 26. 6 o'clock, or we might be a little earlier than that when he's working, then make a meeting 7 o'clock. Can you check your agenda?
I just checked the date, it said it was the 26th. I'm sure that's going to work.
Is that okay with everybody on the council? 5 o'clock on the 26th, it'll be 2 weeks from today? Okay. Do I, y'all? All right, we'll do that, and then you give us the whole presentation, and we'll come
Yes,
up with a decision that day.
Be glad to.
Okay.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, sir. And, Chief, we need to have you here at 5 o'clock on the 26th.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Williams, EMS, we asked that you would make a presentation to us tonight. We realize that you don't work for the city, that but the city is affected. And there's been several questions about the process that y'all have in place for when the ambulance is on a call what is the backup? We've had several instances, I think, Mr. Ham said today, we had an instance where at a school that they had a call, and the ambulance was out on the call, couldn't get Clay County there either. And, we just wanna know what the process is and explain to us, what y'all got in place to protect the citizens of Cuthbert.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. My name is Randy Williams. I'm the director of our South Georgia operations, and I have Jamie Sauls here, who's our district supervisor, and James McPherson here, who's also our district manager. Just to give you an operational overview, we do have one 24-hour, 7-day-a-week ALS ambulance here stationed in Randolph County that serves Randolph County. And we did this kind of like a regionalized deal where we also have a 24-hour ambulance in Quitman County and also a 24-hour ambulance in Clay County. And this ambulance serves for emergency calls only. The only difference today here in Randolph County as compared to prior to Grady coming in is Jamie had an assistant director that worked with her Monday through Friday. So Monday through Friday, when both of them were there, they had another ambulance that could respond during business hours. But that wasn't always guaranteed because she might be out of town, her assistant director might be out of town, might be sick or something like that. So when this truck here is on a call and another call comes in, obviously they're not able to get off of that call and respond to the call that was just received. So the 911 center is supposed to request the next closest available unit. And that includes, depending on where the call is at, if Clay County's closer, they'll request them. If Quitman County's closer, they'll request them. Webster, and Terrell, so forth and so on. That's the way it's supposed to work. What we're aiming to do in the future is have a regionalized emergency medical dispatch center where we'll be in control of receiving the 911 calls. The local call center will initially receive the call. Somebody says, I need an ambulance. They'll go ahead and, while staying on the line, transfer them to our regional EMD center where they'll get true emergency medical dispatch. So if somebody's having somebody's in labor and labor is imminent, they can literally coach them how to deliver the baby. The same thing as if they're having a heart attack through closely revised and reviewed protocols through medical direction by an MD, medical doctor. They'll go through the scenario, and if they see that they are having a heart attack, if they haven't taken aspirin yet, they'll go ahead and advise them to take an aspirin, the exact dosage, because there's a lot of research that suggests how early administration of aspirin improves the patient's outcome when they're having a heart attack. And aspirin's an everyday medication, but all kind of simple things. Yes, ma'am.
You're going to advise them to take an aspirin if they're already on blood thinner?
No, ma'am. All that'll be assessed, and if they meet the criteria, they'll ask them to take an aspirin. If they don't meet the criteria, which blood thinner would be one of those, they won't advise them to take an aspirin. If the patient brought it up, they would advise them not to take an aspirin. So this is a very long listed question that meets the criteria of they can have a medicine or they can't have a medicine. And like I say, it's very closely reviewed by a medical doctor on a regular basis. But with that, we'll have vision of all of our ambulances, not only in Region 7, but all of South Georgia. So we can make sure that the closest ambulance is always dispatched to the call to make sure response times are kept down to a very low minimum.
So when y'all are on a call and you get another call, it's up to the 911 call center to find the next closest dispatch.
Correct. Correct. And
Like today, you said that Randolph County was called, everyone called, and what happened? Clay County was called?
They said Clay County was called, they said they didn't have an ambulance either.
And Jamie's here, she'll get on the ambulance as well during those times. Because we realize that no matter what county, what city you live in anywhere in the United States, there's going to be time frames where you just have an overwhelming number of calls that the local resources can't handle. So one of the things we want to do, and we have done to an extent, but we're working on plans to do it even further, is to work closer with all of our fire departments to train them in first responders, CPR, and anything that, even if it's we're on the way, first responders are embedded in the community, they can be on scene providing life-saving care a lot quicker than when an ambulance can arrive there in many cases. That'll also enhance the level of care that's delivered into the community as well. Another thing that we've also discussed is doing free CPR classes throughout the whole community, because one thing that saves lives is early CPR. And we want to do that to all the citizens of the counties we in and offer it free of charge. If they want the certification, it'll only cost them the price of the card, and that's it. If they don't want the certification, it won't cost them anything. But the more people that are trained in CPR, the better your save rates are going to be, therefore you have a healthier community. Because all it takes is one person to have a heart attack, and it could be anywhere. If they're in a grocery store, somebody has a heart attack, they pass out, a bystander sees they don't have a pulse, they go ahead and initiate early CPR. And that's the key thing is being able to take early aim and detection of that.
Yeah. Anybody?
Yeah, I have one. I heard everything you said about our future,
Yes, sir.
but what can we do for our now? I hear everything about what we're planning on doing, but this is not something that's might happen. This is something that's already happening.
Right.
Without our, what can we do for our now?
Jamie, you want to put some talking points on?
Sure. I believe what happened today at Randolph Clay, they were on a call, they were out on Andrew Street, and they were notified that there was another call, and they decided our crew would be faster getting to Randolph Clay, dropping off the patient in the hospital and going. So they handled that one. A lot of what we're trying to do now is, of course, balance between what calls that we need to give off to the other counties and things like that. Before, we didn't always have mutual aid coming to us. The other counties could tell us that they would not come. Now, with it being a regionalized system, Quitman or Clay is coming. There's just, it just depends on how long it's going to take them. So, before, we had a lot of work with first responders, and they like to drive the ambulance. That was their favorite thing to do. So now that we're under Grady, they cannot drive the ambulance, but they can help in the back. So we have had a little bit less participation, but we're hoping to get some more people to start participating again and stuff in the back. So we're working on it. We have offered EMT classes. We've got a few people that are trying to get certified in the next little while. So hopefully that will help. But we're doing a lot like we were before. I mean, we had these same problems before.
We do.
Yeah, you well know. So, we've got better equipment now. We've got, like I said, definitely having an ambulance coming from another county. We have had some problems with the 911 center, sending the wrong ambulance. So we're working on that. We've worked through that some. So, we're trying. We're doing the best we can.
And obviously, we don't have any control over the local 911 center, so we can't control which one they dispatch. All we can do is when we see there's an error, be reactive, but also try to be proactive and try to coach them of when a call comes out this territory, send this unit if it's available. So we are working on that very aggressively, and that is also a work in progress. And like Jamie said, with the EMT training, we just completed, and people working on taking their licensure right now. That's something that hadn't always been available in the past, but it is available now, and the more EMTs that we have trained in the community that are hired with us, when those extra calls do come in flux, that's more people that can come in, grab an ambulance, and respond to the call that wasn't previously here before. We also just did a 48-hour National Registry refresher course that's about halfway through its halfway point right now, and that's something that's required every 2 years to renew your licensure, and all the employees are presented with up-to-date current information to make sure that the citizens receive the highest level of care in the timeliest manner possible. And the good thing about this regionalized system is like Jamie said, she didn't always have control where other ambulances were and stuff like that, and couldn't always send one whenever the resources locally were overwhelmed. Well, now we do have those 2 extra resources that we did not have before, that one of them's available we can send. And there again, you're going to have days where no matter how many resources you have, just the influx of calls are going to come in at one time. That's unfortunately the nature of the beast in emergency medicine. And that can go for an ER, it can go for an ambulance service, it can go for the fire department, it can go for law enforcement, it can go for any type of public safety entity. But like I say, because this regionalized system, there is more resources available as compared to what there previously were, which is a blessing to all the citizens of the city of Cuthbert and Randolph County.
Two questions. You mentioned trained EMT. Do you have a need for EMTs?
Yes, ma'am, there's always a need for EMTs.
Okay, second question, how far in the future do you see this centralized center being built?
We're projecting towards the end of this year, first of next year, to have a centralized emergency medical dispatch center. And that's just something that can't happen overnight because there's a lot of moving parts. But we're talking to all the entities that we're in and with the government officials, and they're all bought into it and wanna be involved with that.
How many ambulances did you say you have in Randolph County? Couple.
We're running one 24/7 ambulance with 2 backups.
Got one that you roll on.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And you said you got 2 backups?
Yes, ma'am.
2 backup trucks, but they're
I know what
not
you're talking about.
staffed.
That's correct.
Only one year staffed, which was the way it was before Reagan took over.
That's what
That's
I'm
correct.
asking, because I'm gonna say backups, a lot of backups couldn't go.
Yes, sir.
I have the assistant, you said that we prior had an assistant that if something happened, they were there, but in the daytime, an assistant was able to grab another ambulance and go out. Is what, we just got away from that, or we don't wanna, what?
Well, with the assistant director, there obviously wasn't enough work to keep somebody in an assistant director role doing that Monday through Friday, so we rehired that assistant director as a paramedic on the truck. So that employee is still with us, just not in that capacity of being Monday through Friday.
So did we lose, Jamie, did we lose something when we lost the assistant? I mean, I guess we lost a little bit of the possibility of one jumping in the ambulance and during the day.
Well, Katie and I were both here during the day, you know, Monday through Friday, most of the time, and we would take the second ambulance. Now, you know, I'm spread out through the 4 counties, so it's not guaranteed that I would be here to go with her either, even if she was here. So, hopefully we're gonna look towards putting on a second truck one of these days for non-emergency that could also help out with backup stuff. We're looking at that too. Because a lot of the stuff coming out of the hospital is not necessarily stuff that we need to be taking with our 911 truck, so we've talked about putting on a non-emergency truck to do that kind of stuff. So that would help a lot. We just got to get the people hired to do it.
Which is one of the reasons why we did an in-house EMT class as well. Because this is a problem everywhere in the United States is facing, and anywhere in Georgia is facing, is everybody needs EMTs, everybody needs paramedics. The technical colleges just aren't producing enough of EMTs, enough of paramedics to keep up with the demands, not only locally, but throughout the state and throughout the nation. So we've also partnered with these technical colleges, not only helping them to train these EMS personnel, but also to get an interest within the community and fill these classrooms out. Because I'm a former educator myself, and I can honestly say when I walk into a classroom this day and time, no matter where I'm at, whether it's where I used to teach at or where I've never taught at, but I've helped check students off at, those classrooms are half the size as compared to what they were 5 years ago when I was teaching.
Any questions for Mr. Williams or Jamie?
I had one more. What are the qualifications for driving y'all van? Driving one of your, they have to be a.
From Mr. Richard McKinney from 10A, he's going to give you a short presentation.